how's it going? Man, I keep getting Pampers commercials. It's baby Pampers, and it's so weird because I didn't go around on Facebook or on YouTube looking for baby products. But as you can see, that they're hounding me everywhere. Like everywhere I go, I get to see Pampers commercials, and it's like so bizarre. Again, I would understand if I actually went to websites that had children products. But no, it's just it knows, and the fact that it knows bothers me because what else does it know? You gotta ask yourself the question. If it knows that my wife is due within a month, what else does the program know? Huh? Oh, anyway, it also constantly reminds me. It's like I want to just put it out of sight, out of mind. Like it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen, and we'll move from there. But no, it's like, hey V, your wife is expecting soon. I'm like, okay, great, fantastic. What can I say? Yeah. The internet does know that my wife is pregnant. Again, like I'm really curious how though, like how, because I didn't write it down. I didn't go on websites that sell stuff for kids. I did announce it on my YouTube a while ago, and I didn't get these commercials up until recently. Like this is what's bizarre, because like it's getting close to the 9-month period, so I'm all of a sudden getting all this information, and it's bizarre. But anyway, right. Hello, lazy one. Welcome to the show. Hopefully, we're going to have a good time today because there's this very bizarre internet trend, and I guess it's not that it's bizarre. It's kind of expected. People in the West have this feeling that women genuinely, unironically hate men, and they don't hate men. It's like they pick a couple of men that they like, obviously. But they hate men because they're afraid. And this trend on TikTok is showing it. Like you have the question, would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear, or would you rather be alone in the woods with a man? And many women are saying, no, definitely I would rather be alone in the woods with a bear. Which is very bizarre, right? Now, a lot of men didn't understand this. It's like, wait, are you serious? Like, bears are dangerous, right? But like, are we talking about the man? Like any type of man? Like a random guy? And it's like, yeah, well, if it's a random guy, why would you assume that he wants to hurt you? I mean, when you go out on the street, you have random people, right? So, like, why would you just automatically assume that, like, the only thing you know about him is that he is a man? Like, it's not a predator, it's not a criminal, it's not a Democrat, it's just a man, right? So, like, why would you say that you would like to be with a bear? Because if you take 10 random men and 10 random bears, the chances are that your encounter with the bears is going to go much more unfavorably than if you were to encounter the men. But again, like, this is due to the culture. It's not necessarily that women are grown this way. It's simply over the fact that this is what the mainstream media teaches, that men are evil, men are dangerous. If you were to rephrase the question and ask, what would you rather be? Like, would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear, or would you want to be alone in the woods with a migrant? Oh, you're going to see that a lot of women are going to show, well, I'm obviously not going to be a racist. Even though, like, a migrant is still a man, right? Like, all of a sudden, you added a new characteristic, and there you go. Or, like, would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear, or would you rather be alone in the woods with a Muslim? Again, like, like, Muslim is a subcategory of man in this situation, and women will be like, well, I can't say that I want to be with a bear, obviously, because that would make me Islamophobic. It's not politically correct. But political correctness doesn't care if you say that, well, I wouldn't want to be with a man. And the thing is, like, this was the most hilarious stuff that I have seen. And I'll make a video on my main channel about it. There is this TikTok video where this wife is trying to explain to her husband why she feels this way. And they're married, and they have, like, a 10-year-old daughter. And he is asking the husband if your 10-year-old daughter could be alone in the woods with a man or with a bear, which would you choose? And the man initially says, well, obviously with the man. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, because I can beat up a man. I can't beat up a bear. And I was like, no, no, no. She is alone. Like, she's entirely alone in the woods. And you can choose between a man and a bear. And he still goes with the man. And she's like, well, why not the bear? And it's like, well, because bears are dangerous, duh. But she basically insists that, no, like, men are more dangerous than the bears. And the thing is, even if it's a 10-year-old daughter, right? I mean, if I'm in the woods, because, like, this is what you're talking about, is the man, right? If I'm in the woods and I find a 10-year-old daughter, I want to help her out. I'm like, okay, who are your parents? How did you get lost? All right, well, let's find your parents. Why did they automatically assume that every single person on Earth that has a penis is an evil person and they're going to commit crimes? And they would rather say, well, it's a bear. It's because the culture, right? Now, I wonder if you change the story a little bit and you're saying, instead of the woods, because, like, the woods seem like this big place and you can run, you can hide or whatever. But what if it's a pit? So you go out, you know, like, the aliens catch you and you're on the alien ship and they will say you get into this pit with a man or you get into this pit with a bear. Like, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you were to spin it around and you would say, I would rather have a bear vote than a woman vote, all of a sudden misogyny, all of a sudden, no, how can you say that? That is atrocious, that is, right? But the thing is, if you just reverse the genders, all of a sudden the reaction is completely different, and all of a sudden they understand why it's very offensive for people to suggest that actually a bear is less dangerous than a man. There's this other woman, which also did something interesting, and she said, well, if I go into the woods and I get attacked by a bear, people believe me. But if I go in the woods and I get attacked by a man, no one believes me. And I'm like, why does she think that? Like, does she think that we don't take sexual assault seriously as a society? Like, do we think it never happens? It's like this mythological thing that only exists in fairy tales? Like, no, of course people will believe her. But what she actually means is the feminist definition of the word believe. Because feminists like, and all leftists actually, like to play language games. They like to change definitions. So what you understand by believe is not the same as what they want you to get by believe, right? So, like, for us, believe means that if someone goes and says, okay, well, I've been attacked by a bear, you believe them and you start an investigation. And it's the same thing, like, if someone comes up to you and says, I got attacked by a man, you believe them, but you start an investigation because the man is worthy of due process. You don't just automatically lock the man. You don't put him in prison. No, you're going to take the complaint seriously. You're going to start an investigation, which can lead either to evidence that the man did commit the crime, in which case he goes to prison, evidence that actually the person made it up. There are such cases, rare, but they exist, in which case she has to pay a fine for wasting the police time, or maybe she even has to go to prison because she filed a false complaint, or you may not find evidence. And this is sometimes, unfortunately, what ends up happening, like a crime was committed, but there's no evidence, in which case we can't arrest people unless we can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that they're guilty. Because you wouldn't want it done to you. You wouldn't want to be implicated in a crime where there's no evidence that you committed and you go to prison anyway, right? But the feminists, they don't want you, when they say, believe the victim. They don't want you to start an investigation. No, they want you to skip all that, completely ignore due process, and lock the person out. So when the feminist says, the bear, like people would believe me that a bear attacked me, is that the bear doesn't get due process, which is true, right? It's an animal. It's like, it's a dangerous animal. Even if you can't prove that this particular bear attacked or not, you will still have the ranger sedate the animal, take it away, or in some cases even shoot it. It depends. But again, it's an animal. You do not give it the same considerations like we actually give it to a human being. So this is what the feminist is upset about. Ministry of Wrong Thing, thank you for the $10. Women are acting cocky as though we can't easily make this social experiment happen in real life. We know where bears are right now. Everyone would watch women get eaten by bears reality show. The thing is, like, the hypothetical question, would you rather eat shit or get $1 million? Like, almost everyone would say, no, I would not want to eat shit. And the answer is, like, why? Why would people say that? And it's because if you admit that you would, you don't actually get the $1 million. So you can be dishonest, right? But if you take a person and you genuinely put them in the situation where you have, like, a suitcase of money, and you're like, okay, if you eat shit, you do get this $1 million. And he knows he will. He'll see a lot of shit eaters. And then all of them would have said no. It's the same thing. Like, if you actually take a woman and you say, all right, well, you can be in the woods with a bear or you can be in the woods with a man, a lot of them will choose the man. Now what's also interesting, and I noticed this fascinating take, is that you have a lot of men on Twitter that were oozing with soy. Like, they were literally just oozing with soy. I said this on my main channel. I took a plate from the kitchen. I put it under my monitor while those men were there, and I had enough in order to make some really good Asian dish from all the soy that they were using. And they were basically saying, well, yeah, but, like, you know how to handle a bear. Like, there's bear spray, there's ways that if you see a bear, you back away slowly. But you don't know how to handle a man. And it's like, yeah, you do. It's called the Second Amendment. You just don't want it. And not to mention, like, the bear repellent, that's not 100% guaranteed. Like, there are cases where people did have bear repellent, and they did spray the way that it's supposed to, but, when the bear charges, it's got its adrenaline, it's got its pumping up. If the bear backs away like 6 or 7 seconds until its brain registers that it can't breathe and it's actually, the air is toxic, it can do a lot of damage in those 7 seconds. I mean, there are people that got mauled and they were lucky that they had the bear repellent because they could go away, but they still had the wounds. And there are cases where the bear went away and then came back. Like the people that talk about this shit have no idea about nature and about what survival is like and how animals are like. It's complete ridiculous nonsense. American Outlier, also $10. Hi V, hope your day is good. The more they castigate men, the more cats they will later on own in life. Glad I have my passport because these women in the Anglosphere are too far gone to my taste. The thing is, I don't think, like, man hatred is necessarily an unattractive trait. I know a lot of women that have no problem getting boyfriends that are misogynists. Like, think about it this way. How many people with a PhD, that don't have a girlfriend or don't have a wife? Because I know quite a lot. I've been to med school, law school. I got a lot of friends that do end up having a PhD. Some of them even work in the industry and they're very popular and famous. And they're single. Meanwhile, I don't know of a single drug lord or a single person that larps as gangsta that doesn't have women. And you see it. You see it on the news, right? Like, you get to see the police just breaking into the house of a guy that's suspected for drug use. He's got like 4 or 5 women over there. And they're all crying and shouting as he's being taken away. It's not like they're there with against their will. Like, my point is, being a misogynist doesn't mean that you're not going to get a girlfriend, and it's the same thing with women. Like, there are women that literally hate men, and they have no problem getting a boyfriend. Now the thing is, like, are they going to get a quality significant other? Like a person that genuinely loves them and cares about. I don't know about that. That's different because, like, your personality is going to attract a specific type of person. So if you really hate men and it shows, probably the men that have self-respect and are a little bit more decent are not going to be interested in hanging around with you. This meme exposes how women think with emotions. When thinking about bears in the woods, they assume they'll never see the bear. But a man in the woods, they assume they'll absolutely run into them. That is also a good example, right? Because I guess I articulated it a little bit, but I didn't manage to hammer the point through. It is true, yeah, like, this is why if you say the aliens have abducted you and you get to go in a cage, and in the cage there's a man, and in the other cage there's a bear, where are you going to go, right? And they're probably thinking, oh, well, I'll take the man in that situation. But in the woods, it's like, yeah, I mean, I can just not run into the bear. it's so bizarre, man. It's so bizarre. I don't know if I were to I'm trying to think, and it's like even if there's a terrorist, I would rather be stuck in the woods with a terrorist than a bear. Again, it's like, okay, well, the terrorist has got his own political agenda. Maybe he doesn't hate me, and at the end of the day, usually, like even if you have like a person that's a murderer, chances are they will murder you faster and less painful than the bear. Like, people do not understand what it's like to get mauled. I have seen case files. I have seen reports. It's not nice. It takes a long while. Like, unlike lions and cats, they go for the jugular. The bear doesn't. They sometimes start with the legs. It's not a pleasant thing. Especially if they're close to hibernation. Like, again, these people, they have absolutely no idea what the fuck they're talking about. But like, I think the issue, which is why it upsets a lot of people, it's not that they just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's also the fact that they are so certain of what they're talking about. Like, again, there was this wife trying to convince her husband that, well, you know, your little girl is better off in the woods with a bear than a man. Like, they genuinely, unironically believe that, and they think that they're in the right. They are so certain that they can't be wrong on the issue. It's just bizarre. Being eaten alive. Yeah, it's just devil's advocate. What if it's a panda? Okay, if it's a panda bear, then it's fine. But even then, like, okay, I'm alone in the woods. Like, that is what the question is, right? Like, what if you're alone in the woods? The thing that I initially wondered is how do I escape? I don't want to be alone in the woods. I want to go back to my place. I want to go back in the city, right? Who's going to help me do that? Is it the bear or is it the man? See, like, that's the very fact that the man can actually help you out doesn't even cross the mind. I mean, this is how far gone Western society is. Like, dude, if I'm alone in the woods, that's a scary thing. Like, the bear isn't the last of my problems. This is cold in the woods. The environment itself is hostile, especially if it's cold outside. Like, where do you sleep? Right? So, like, being alone in the woods is in itself a problem that a bear can't help you out. But, like, if you find another man, then, okay, well, now there's two of you. Now you can work together to get out from the fucking woods. I don't understand. Like, this is, my fucking God, the way that society is so demoralized with this shit. So fucking bizarre. Yeah, if it's a panda, pandas are not hard. I mean, they can be. Like, if you take a wrong corner and you run into the panda and you startle it, yeah, you done fucked up. I mean, at the end of the day, an animal is unpredictable, right? So can a human. Like, a human can be unpredictable, but it's more likely that a human is predictable. Like, if you have, like, 30 years of experience, you kind of understand how humans think and how they function. My favorite take is that on TikTok, like some of the women that were, oh yeah, I would choose the bear all the time, and they were nasty. They were so nasty, and I'm like, you got half your hair shaven. You got your hair colored with all this bizarre dye. You got a nose ring in your nose. You got all these tattoos on your arm. Fuck are you talking about? Like, stop being afraid. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Look, how do I know? Just trust me. Hashtag trust me, bro. Choose the bear. You'll be fine. You can be alone with the woods with Harvey Weinstein and you'll be fine. I'm just bewildered. I choose the bear over the feminist because it want me to. Well, it's how I pissed them off, because I unironically pissed off people on Twitter with this by saying, but who would you rather have vote, a bear or a woman? And it's the same question, right? Like, who would you rather be alone in the woods with, a bear or a man? It's like, okay, well, who would you rather vote, a bear or a woman? Oh my God, they got so upset. It's like, why? But you get upset. All you have to say is to answer the woman, because a bear can't vote. There you go. But they get upset because they know, I think those idiots never seen a bear. Man, like, bears are awful. Like, unironically, like, one of the worst types of animals that you can possibly ever run into. They're sadistic. They're bigger than you. There was a story, I think it was in the Canadian press, and it was at a national park where they had to shoot a bear because people were feeding it, and the bear became too friendly with the people. They would call him Yogi Bear, and people would take pictures with him hugging and stuff. So the park ranger shot him, and basically released a statement saying that this is why you shouldn't feed the animals, because this is what ends up happening. Right now, the bear didn't attack anyone; he was friendly. But as a person that understands animal psychology, like, you get what's going on, because, like, yeah, you can have, like, a person that hugs the bear and takes a picture and then, accidentally steps on the bear's legs, or does something, like their phone vibrates, or they do something that upsets the bear, and you then end up with a obituary. And you'll be like, oh, why didn't the park do anything? Why didn't the park... It's like, no. It's a wild animal. You need to respect it by keeping away. If you're in a park and there's bears or whatever, you respect them by keeping away. Hold your car window closed. Do not open the car window. Do not agitate the bear. Do not aggravate the bear. Chances are you shouldn't feed it either, because you don't know what it eats. You probably give it chocolate or something and it upsets its stomach. Just leave it the fuck alone. It's a wild animal. It's not a pet. But again, like, people on the comment section were like, oh my god, how can you do this? No, it's horrible. Like, no, it's not. Zenith, which uses the avatar of a lion. The right to bear arms. What the right of bears to vote? Man, should Pipkin Pippa have a right to vote? She's a rabbit, right? Should she have a right to vote? What happened to Grizzly Man? What was that, the guy that was called? Yeah, like, there's this recording on YouTube. There was this guy, man, like, the case is the worst one that I've ever found on the internet. It's like one of the most harrowing things. Like, you can find it on YouTube. But basically, there's this guy that really liked grizzly bears. Like, he really loved grizzly bears. He would go and make documentaries with grizzly bears. He was kind of like, what was the name of that Australian guy? Steve Irwin, right? But instead of crocodiles, he was with bears. And he suffered a very similar thing to Steve Irwin, but again, with bears, not with stingrays. This guy goes into the middle of nowhere every single year in order to film himself with the bears. And apparently he had a girlfriend which was terrified by the bears. Like she really didn't like this, but she actually loved them a lot. So they would go together on these camping trips, and they had the journal of the girlfriend, and she said that she never wants to go there again. Like, this is the last time she goes, and she was really happy for it. But anyway, apparently they missed their flight, so they have to spend one more week into the wilderness. And it was hibernation season. And apparently before hibernation seasons, bears eat a lot because they need to get all that fat so that they can survive the winter. So they were incredibly hungry. And during the night, the girlfriend hears a bear, and the guy goes out to see what's happening, and apparently he didn't know that bear. And you get the recordings because they were videotaping this for a documentary footage. And you get to listen to the recordings. There's no visuals of it because they didn't pull up the camera lens, but the camera was like still recording and it was dark. And you hear the man screaming. It's like, get out here. I'm getting killed out here. Help. So she goes out, tries to help him, uses a frying pan in order to, because like they didn't even have bear repellent. They didn't even have guns because like the guy was like, no, bears are pacifistic. Bears are nice. They both end up dead, but you get to hear the screams that the guy is going through. Like, you get to hear how the guy is basically, waiting for the bear to move around him and then just take a little chunk out of his leg. And like that is the most harrowing shit ever, right? So once you get a little bit of context and you understand that, well, these are very dangerous animals and should be treated with respect, not with mental illness by going next to them, this becomes a little bit more deranged. Especially when you're like, oh yeah, sure, like my 10-year-old daughter definitely safer in the woods with a bear than with a man. I mean, uh, speaking of Harvey, did you hear that one of the charges against him was dropped? Also, it does depend on the type. Like in the southeast, there's black bears. Yeah, so it depends on the type. Grizzly bears are incredibly dangerous. Black bears also dangerous. I think like brown bears are a little bit more safe, but they're still bears. The worst type of bears, the bears that are definitely like if you see one, you're probably dead. Polar bears. The reason that polar bears are so deadly is not just their size. They need to be big in order to have like all that grease that protects them from the cold. But they also don't have a lot of fruits and vegetables where they live because they live into the polar place, right? So like it's the Arctic, it's very cold, and there's not a lot of fruits and vegetables, so they only eat meat. So if you run into one into the wild, you're pretty much fucked. Even if you have a handgun, it's not going to do much. Yeah, it does depend. Like the species of the bear is important. Guy became bear body fat, burned during the winter. No, I think like they actually shot the bear. The bear didn't get any due process. You had the mountain rangers that went in there and they found like the entire place just destroyed, and there were like the remains of the corpses from the people. It was grisly. But as I say, it's like one of the worst things, one of the most harrowing things I have seen on the internet, which probably goes to show that I don't watch a lot of harrowing things, but still, it was pretty high up there. Um, any big bear with a cub is the most dangerous. Well, any type of animal that has cubs are dangerous. Even a cat, even a house cat, if it's got kittens and it doesn't know you and it's feral and you go to the kittens, it can actually attack. So yeah, like any type of animal, but especially large animals, especially like I even heard that if you run into a deer, it can also be a problem. So definitely mooses. Mooses are like, yeah, like I spoke with Arch and I was talking with Arch Warhammer one night, and I hear like this incessant banging at coming from his place, and it's like, what happens? It's like, isn't it the middle of the night in Norway? Because like we're in Europe, so the time zone isn't that different, and it was something like 3 a.m. And you could hear like this loud banging in Arch's house, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, it's just a moose that's scraping its antlers against my wall. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, you know that if you go outside. So yeah, but if you end up seeing a moose that has little mooses, yeah, it can be dangerous. So anyway, a woman's candid comment that she'd prefer to be stranded in a forest with a bear rather than a man has taken the internet by storm. In light of the harrowing statistics that 1 in 6 American women has experienced, attempted, or completed rape in her lifetime, says the Mirror US, Street Survey earlier this morning posed a provocative question: would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear? So I love how they're like injecting the statistic over there, which is very disingenuous, right? Like if you're a woman in America, you're safe. You're not going to be like a woman in the Congo, or it's like America, despite the fact that women want to defund the police, like most women, they were chanting for this and supporting this. You also live in a country with the Second Amendment. But the reason they keep using this statistic, 1 in 6 American women, right? They're basically including groping. And by the way, like, groping, definitely unacceptable. Like, no, seriously, like, I wouldn't want my wife to be groped. I wouldn't want my daughter to be groped. But it's not the same like rape. Like, let's be honest. Like, they're both crimes. They're both signalizing a danger to society, but like, it's not the same. And in an entire lifetime, so if you're 37 years old and you got groped once. Is that really? And again, the way it's presented is that 1 in 6 women have experienced all of this trauma. But like, how many women did not experience a man helping them out, right? So like, why don't you put it in a balance then? Like, how likely is it that the man that you'd be alone in the woods with is going to assault you? And how likely is it that the man that you're alone in the woods with is going to help you? How likely is it that you're scared, you're out there in the woods, you don't know what to do, and there's this man, and it's like, oh, lady, are you lost? Well, that's okay, I got a phone. Gotta call the police. No, you shouldn't call the police. I want to defund the police. Oh, I see, you're one of those. Well, in that case, I wish you a good day, madam. No, wait. It is cold out. Well, it is none of my business. The overwhelming preference for the bear echoes across TikTok. And again, when it comes to TikTok, I just want to point out that it's not an actual reflection of reality. When it comes to TikTok, it is a highly curated platform where if I go there and I make content, I will be banned because I'm too right-wing. Right? Like, because if you go on TikTok and you get like one of these ladies that prefers the bears, and I make a video and I make fun of her and I mock her and I ridicule her and I debunk her statistics, I get banned. And at the very worst, like at best I get banned. At worst, the algorithm suppresses you and doesn't share your videos and makes you think that your opinions aren't important and no one listens to you. So, yeah. I would definitely not consider TikTok to be as... I mean, holy shit, you had the letter from Bin Laden a couple of months ago getting huge popularity on TikTok. Like, do you think that's actual representative for the American people? Like, do you think most Americans, especially after 9/11, they would look at the letter and they would say, oh yeah, this definitely sounds legit to me. I mean, yeah, the guy had the point. No, they don't, right? But TikTok does, and it goes to tell you a lot about TikTok. Grizzly bears make up only 30% of the bear population, but commit 52% of all the animal-human attacks. That's why all the woke women love grizzly bears so much. I don't think they... I get your joke, but... I wonder, like, if you actually mention a grizzly bear, if they would change their mind. Camera getting fixed, your face reactions are missed. I probably won't fix the camera. Number one, baby is on the way, so I do need the money. Which, like, fixing would probably mean buying a new one at this point. But the second thing, do you know how comfortable it is not having to comb my hair? Not needing to actually care. It's like I just get out of bed, I shoot a video, no one sees my face. It is so good. It is so good, and not a lot of people complain, so you're going to just see my VTube avatar, unfortunately, when even that one is available. Here you go. So a lot of people prefer the bear. Women are justified in their choice with remarks such as, if I was attacked by a bear, people would believe me. I've never heard of a bear holding anyone captive for decades, and bears are easier to predict. Yeah, this is the statement of people that have absolutely no clue what a bear is. And there is actually a case where where a bear did hold someone captive. It wasn't for decades, though, but there was this guy with a bike. He liked the mountain area, and he encountered the fabled bear. And the bear, they mauled the guy, apparently broke his spine, and then dragged him to a cave so that it can start eating him later. I think it already started eating him a little bit, but then decided to leave it for later. Luckily, the guy actually ran into... he didn't run into someone. Like, someone else ran into the guy. Because there were, like, some people that were camping, and he heard voices and shouted for help. But he did last around 3 or 4 days in the cave. So, I get what she's saying. It's like, yeah, there aren't cases of bears that held anyone captive for decades, but even so, it can be very unpleasant. Another joint is saying, I'm not hearing about any mass movements of women moving out of the woods where the bears are at all. Again, you can look at this high level of IQ. I mean, holy shit, if you have a person and you're asking them, okay, so you're alone in the woods. Would you rather be alone with the man or with the bear? They go like with the bear, and you're like, why? Well, because I didn't hear about the mass number of women living the woods. And you're listening to that argument with your jaw dropped like the genie from Aladdin, and you're like, is this person sane? Are they mentally well? Like, you don't even know what to reply to that. It's like, yeah, women do not live in the woods, lady. So therefore, nothing that happens in the woods will ever get women to run away. Like, you can have a dirty bomb exploded in the woods with radioactive hazard, like in fucking Fallout, and you're not going to see mass number of women living in the woods. Why? Because they don't live in the fucking woods. No one lives in the woods. There's a reason why people don't live in the woods. Fuck. Jesus. And not to mention, women usually do not leave dangerous places. Like, I noticed this. Look at the immigration patterns, with the asylum seekers and the people that are seeking asylum and they're fleeing persecution in their countries. Some of them are women, sure, but like overwhelmingly it's men. Overwhelmingly it's men. It's interesting, isn't it? I don't know why that is. I genuinely can't explain it, but like you look at the most amount of people that cross the border, just Google any picture and you'll see that the majority are men. Again, I don't know why, but apparently their countries are experiencing a lot of dangers. They're experiencing war, they're experiencing high levels of crime. Maybe the police has been defunded, I don't know, but like, you get to notice this interesting trend. The irony of these defenses was not lost on women, another joined in saying, I'm not hearing about any mass movements, blah, 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 blah. You're all acting like men are scarier than bears. You ain't watched enough nature documentaries. The irony of these defenses were not lost on women, who pointed out that they simply reinforce the view of women putting forward. The gaslighting of insisting that woman is insane because she has a different lived experience to that of a man, and then ridiculing her for it, is thereby providing you're unable to handle rejection. Holy shit. It's like, okay, first of all, if you're a woman that genuinely thinks a bear is safer than a man, like any man, I don't care if you reject me or not. I will reject you. I am the one who rejects. Like that scene from Breaking Bad. You see a woman rejecting someone and you think of me? No, I am the one who rejects. Unironically, like if this is your mentality, like I will not consider that you are a person that is safe to start a life with. I do not think that you can respect me if you genuinely think that all men are like this. And it's not about handling rejection. Again, if you were to say, who would you rather vote, a bear or a woman? All of a sudden they realize why it's offensive. And then you can say, well, yeah, but like looking at the trend that women vote, my taxes have gone up, and this bad thing happened and that bad thing happened, and like if you were to make that justification, they would freak out. They would say, oh, you're a misogynist. I mean, why would they assume that when it's this situation is not different? Not to mention, they're not even asking questions like, how old is the man? Maybe it's a 65-year-old grandfather. Are you going to be afraid of him as well? Do you even know how to get out of the woods? What if the man wants to help you get out? This is fucking hell. In another viral video shared by Feminist Fabulous, a woman who threw open the debate to make conversation even bigger, swapping the forest environment for a battlefield, she said, instead of a bear, let's do an entire army that's trying to kill you. You would assume that a woman would be safer with a man that they're stranded with over the enemy. Okay, so, fuck. Now it's a different scenario altogether. Okay, so we're on a battlefield. Holy shit. Alright. And I assume that the battlefield is men's fault, right? Like, even though you look at nations around the world, and women vote, and wars still happen. Right? Like in Russia, there are women that support Putin, and yet you have a conflict. And what happens? I mean, if you're a man, you get drafted, right? Like, women choose. So if you go on a battlefield and you don't find women, it's often due to the fact that they can choose not to be on the battlefield. No one wants to be on the battlefield. Yeah, in this situation, I would rather be with the bear in the woods. Unironically. But yeah, like if my choice would be in a war zone or in the woods with a bear, I'll take my chances with the bear because I can try and avoid it. But if you're saying a battlefield, well, then you have friendly fire. You have the enemy soldiers, which have been desensitized to violence, and war is dehumanizing, so they may commit acts of atrocities. Even as a man, like you don't even need to be a woman, like even as a man. And then you can have like the artillery just dropping indiscriminately. So yeah, no, fine. Like if this is the new scenario where you gotta choose, like where would you rather be? And honestly, even if it was like a battlefield filled with women, right? Like even if it was like a battlefield where for some reason, God knows why, it's only female combatants, I would still pick the bear. I would be like, I would take my chances with the bear simply because the nature of the battlefield is in such a way that I wouldn't want to fuck around and find out. Wow. Anyway, here's another question that I would ask for the TikTokers. If you're attacked by a bear, who would you rather come and defend you? A man or another bear? Actually, another question would be a man or a woman. Technically, it shouldn't really matter that much because the difference in strength between, regardless if you're a man or a woman, it's a fucking bear, right? And if they have access to a firearm, then it doesn't really matter if it's a man or a woman. That would be an interesting question. You're attacked by a bear. Who would you want to come to your aid, a man or a woman? Huh? What did that be? Like, what do you think they would answer? Anyway, she says that you would be wrong according to the data from... I love how they always use data when it comes to this shit, right? Like, when it's about gender, they always use the data. But when it's about immigration and other things, the data is nowhere to be found. Did you notice that? Even when it's about the economy. And the government says that inflation is caused by greedy corporations. There's no data there. No data. But when it's about who would you want to be in the forest with, all of a sudden they're experts. And they're bringing up the data and the statistics. According to the data from Pentagon, a woman in the military is more likely to be raped by a man, fellow soldiers, than to be killed by enemy fire. You know, this is true. And it's unfortunate. I wish it would stop, but I can't do anything about it from my chair here in Romania. However, if I was to choose between getting raped or getting killed, I'm sorry, but like I would rather have the opportunity to choose, you know? Because the sense of self-preservation, I know other people may not make my choice. But what I'm saying is that it's, yeah. And again, we don't know how an army with women would act. Like, we genuinely don't know. Because war just robs your humanity. You see people getting blown to bits. It changes a man. I mean, there are cases where you're reading the media. And, I even saw it in hospitals as well. Like, there was a woman that found out her man was cheating on her, and she castrated him. Like, while he was asleep. Pulled his ball sacks. It's like, okay. And then you have like another case where, and this one is quite often, like when it comes to domestic violence, they don't really talk about what women do and how they commit domestic violence. A lot of them is towards kids. But there are cases where they throw objects. So they will throw a scorching oil pan in someone's face. Now, again, just because that happens, is it okay for me to assume that all women are like that and like being in the woods with a woman is dangerous? Like, no. I mean, look, if I was to go by this, I would be like, oh, I would rather take the bear because the woman can be to you. I know a lot of men that were falsely accused, ruined their reputation. The accuser had no evidence. They presented nothing. The mere accusation was enough to ruin the reputation of the person. It didn't end with a conviction, but it ended with a complete death in its social circles. All the friends, all the families moved away, and then it turned out that the accusation was false. So, you know, like, the bear can't access social media, so therefore. You know, would that be nice? Jesus, these people. V, can you name your baby Vladdy? No. Jesus. I don't think my wife would even want Vladdy. The interesting thing, a lot of people mention this, that the domestic violence in lesbian relationships is higher than that of gay or heteronormative relationships. Like I seen the statistics, and I actually try to understand why that is, and I think it's because when you're a man, you learn from puberty on how to control your strength. Like you realize that you have aggressive tendencies, like most men do, and you need to learn how to control those impulses, right? Because you can really hurt someone, and you learn it quite fast, right? And on top of that, the entire society is telling you, it's like, well, violence is bad, violence is not the answer, don't do this, don't do that, right? But if you're a woman, you don't get society to tell you that, and you don't really do that much damage either. So maybe that's why, I don't know. I mean, you get to see two guys fighting, right? When you're at university, and you get like two guys fighting, and it's really bloody. Like one punch, and immediately the other guy starts bleeding from his nose, and like sometimes if the fight isn't checked, they end up in hospital, and it's bad. But like when you see two women fighting, how often is it that one woman ends up in a hospital because of? I mean, it does happen, but it's very rare, isn't it? So I think it's the fact that there is no impulse, there's no training, right? You didn't go and train yourself like the Buddhist monk. You didn't. They didn't do the Jedi training, chat. This is how I can explain. They didn't do the Jedi training. They didn't learn how to master the Force. Choosing between a bear and a woman is like choosing between a quick or a slow death. Unironically, I would choose the human being every time, even if I mentioned it before, even if it's like a terrorist or something, I would still choose the human being. Only if it's like a, I don't know, like you're telling me, would you choose a bear or a psychopathic serial killer that's a human? Well then, but even then, I think I can take the human. Yeah, I think I can take him. Like if that's the case, like I'm knowing I'm in the woods and there's this serial killer there, and I'm like, okay, well at least I can grab a rock, but I can't fucking take a bear. There's nothing that I can do against a bear. Old boys used to, as kids grow up, testing strength against each other all the time. Yeah, like a lot of the physical activities that I had as a kid were about testing strength. Like even if it wasn't about fighting in the playground, we had a lot of contact sports and a lot of games where, like kids would tumble, like that. We even played this game that had no rules. It was just like, which can put the other one to the ground first, right? So like a wrestling type of thing. Like the whole idea was to try and trip the other guy, and you had to not get tripped. Like if you fell down, you lost the point. And you get to play those, and you realize, wow, I'm quite strong, right? Like you realize that once you hit puberty, the boys that are younger than you and they didn't, like they're not as strong as you, and if you try to do that with the girls, it's easy mode, unless she's morbidly obese. Then it's like, yeah, most kids learn that when they're young. Like most boys learn, yeah, you're kind of powerful, like watch it, then you can hurt people. I can delete a person, a bear not so much. Yeah, well they will say, okay, well you got because the thing is, like they will if you use this argument, I saw it on Twitter, and they started saying, well yeah, but listen, if you are against a bear, you can have bear spray. Like, you can be prepped, right? You can be prepared. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then just give me a gun, and I don't fucking care if I'm alone in the forest with a man or a bear. Like, if you have a gun, then the entire hypothetical scenario goes out the window. I don't care. And even then, I would take the man, simply because, again, I'm alone in the woods. I need to have the man in order to help me get out. I'm taking my chances with the bear, another woman says. Highlighted why the bear might seem like the safer bet, women shifted the perspective by posting a question of their own patterns. If your daughter was lost in the woods, would you rather she encountered a bear or a man? A man, 100%! Again, like, why would we assume that this goes what's in the mind of a woman? Like she assumes that every single man is a predator. And it's like, well, don't you have a husband? Is he a predator? Like, the whole idea is like your daughter is alone in the woods. Like, she's going to need help. A bear is not going to help her. A man may be like, well, little girl, are you alone? Where are your parents? Do you have their phone number? Can we call them? Fucking hell, like, is it like, what is more likely? No, like, unironically, like, where do these women live? I guess they live in America. Maybe things are different there than in Romania. But like here, it's expected, and I would be willing to say that it's over 70%. I'm pulling this number out of my ass, but I have faith in my countrymen that if you're a little girl in the woods encountering a man, he is more likely to try and rescue you and bring you back to your parents. And look at this, you know, like the other guy goes like, what kind of a man? It's like, what kind of a man? Sir, we never know what kind of man it's going to be until it's goddamn late. So when it comes to gender, you can think like that. Do you think like this when it comes to race as well, lady? Because that would be racist as fuck, wouldn't it? Oh, so let's change the subject then. You're alone in the woods. Would you rather be with a bear or with a black man? Come on, answer the question. Answer the question, damn it. Oh, make your TikTok video now. Make your TikTok video. Oh, you're not going to. I wonder why. All of a sudden, oh, with the black man, of course. Yeah. With the, oh, holy shit. Holy shit. I know. Listen. I got a question for TikTok. Would you, so this girl asked, okay, would you want your 10-year-old daughter to be alone in the woods with a rabbi or with a bear? I'm really curious. I mean, all these liberal women, how would they answer? Because being a rabbi is a subsection of being a man, right? Because that's maximum political incorrectness there. Then the ADL gets activated. Then you lose your social media account. I mean, be very careful with how you're asking, you know? It's the same question, right? Like, why would they be upset? They're the ones that presented me. Again, I would choose the man every single time. I don't care what type of man is it. There's no race, gender, religious orientation. No, I will go with the man every single time. 100%. Would you rather be in the woods with a gay man or a bear with a gay man? Like that, there's no way you can convince me that the answer is a bear in any of the only time I got convinced was by that lady that were like, would you rather be in a war zone or in the woods with a bear? I'm like, okay, I'll take the bear. But if it was like a war zone or a bear infested wood, like no matter where you go, you're going to run into many bears, then I would take the war zone. What about man, bear, pig? Then you checkmated them. Anyway, right, I hope you guys had fun. I'll probably talk about this on my main channel as well, because I looked at some of the TikTok videos. They're so bizarre. It's like, you know, like at the end of the day, no one is going to be placed into that situation where they have to choose. But it's the answer that they're giving, which says a lot about that person. And you're going to think, it's like, wow, okay, so if they think this way, what do they think about me? You know, it's like so like they don't even care. It's like any man, like they treat any man as a wild animal. It's like, do I want to be around that? You know, my wife doesn't think like that. Like my wife doesn't think that all the men are like wild animals. Like Jesus. So anyway, right? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.